What's up, ladies and gents, and welcome back to our little talkaroo round. I don't really have a word for it yet. By the time this gets uploaded, I probably know a title for the series. Not yet, though. So we're here once again with American Truck Simulator because, I don't know, I've been enjoying it so far, so also think it makes a decent game to run in the background. There are a lot of Subarus, WRXs. Hey, look, another one. And another one. I wish there were that many of them. Unfortunately, there are not. It's one of my favorite cars. So there's a bit of information. Yeah, but that being said, we ended last video on the note of I've been playing the new Spider-Man on console, and that maybe one day we will actually see console content. That being said, I would love if they bring more console games to the PC, such as, or like what has happened with the Forza series, what has happened with Spyro. So just seeing these games make it to PC is just wonderful. It's wonderful to see because I really enjoy being able to play them on the PC. Like, you can't say that I don't enjoy playing on console. I do that a lot, but for me, actual serious recording and stuff is, I don't know, it's a PC thing for me, because the console playing is mostly, you know, you sit down on your couch or you lie down and you play relaxed, play fun, you know. So that has kind of been the thing here. Now, that being said, there are some games that I would love to see come to PC. And does he make room for me? Yes, he does. It's actually several games. For one, the Uncharted series would be fun to see on PC. The Gran Turismo series. So it's mostly PlayStation titles that are missing, and that is also my console of choice. And luckily Microsoft has already brought several of the Xbox titles to PC. Most notably Forza, as I've been saying earlier. So that has been pretty good. Another thing we touched on last time was whether a game is worth it or not, such as with Need for Speed, and what else did we talk about? Need for Speed, and what else was worth it? Resident Evil 3. Well, that wasn't really worth it. At least not its full price game thing. So that wasn't really worth it. And it's hard to really judge whether a game is worth it or not, because what criteria do you take? When is a game worth it? And I used to judge games by, if I pay €1 for a game, I want to have 1 hour of fun for it. So a $60 game should get me 60 hours of fun, right? Whoops. Yeah, we were mildly too fast. Yeah, we'll make that up. Anyway, so that has kind of been the main thing. And I honestly have to say a lot of games don't meet that criteria anymore, or they do meet that criteria, but it's just repetitive side questing that gets you to that threshold. Like, let's take for example Assassin's Creed. Now, I'm not speaking on the latest Assassin's Creed, what I'm talking about is Origins and Odyssey. And I did the Platinum Trophy, that's 100% of the trophies or achievements if you're a Steam person. Oh, that's a police car, right? Probably shouldn't be overtaking that one. As if I ever cared. Anyway, so I did both of them for the Platinum Trophy, and doing that obviously cost a lot of time. I put a lot of hours into it, especially with Origins. It was so many things on the map that you had to explore and just... But does that mean the game was worth it just because you put so much time into it? And I mean, I'm not saying Origins wasn't worth it. I very much enjoyed the game, so it was certainly worth its price. But just because you put a lot of copy-paste positions or copy-paste tombs in there, copy-paste locations in there, that just draw out the game length doesn't mean it's better or more worth it than a shorter game. So in recent years I've kind of revised that formula, because a game isn't just worth it because you get more playing time out of it. Especially in an era where playing time so often is stretched out through these, like I said, these copy-paste type deals. And you then really have to ask yourself, maybe the game would be even better if it was streamlined a bit more, not as bloated. But at the same time you can then ask yourself, well, when you get less for your money, how is that better? So that's a very difficult thing to discuss, but I think that's always an issue with story games, because obviously a story is only so long when it's told. Well, that was expected. Oh well. And so once the story is told and is over, there is not much left to do. And by that I mean there is nothing left to do. And just bloating up the map and making you play to like no end just to increase the playing time is a bit questionable in my opinion. Because doing the same thing over and over and over again, it has a very grindy feel to it, a very MMO typed feel to it, where you're just grinding away all the time. And well, whether that actually makes the game better and more worth it, it's really hard to call. So all in all, I really had to revise that formula of an hour of playing time being worth $1, you know. So $60, 60 hours is a tough call. And it's especially difficult when you compare a game like, I don't know, Killing Floor. First one I played for roughly 1.1k hours. Now, obviously, that one was very much worth it. But how do you quantify that? And I bought it on sale for like $5 plus the DLC. Let's say I spent 20 or even $30 on it. How do you quantify that versus a story game, which once you're through, there is no point in playing anymore? So I must admit that initial formula that I used was a bit lacking, I should say. So that brought me to the thought, like, maybe use a different measure to try to decide if something was worth it. And my thought was, well, a game is worth its price if A, it's fun, you enjoy it, B, you do get a certain amount of enjoyment, and by that I mean the time you have fun playing it, which negates the stuff that you only do as kind of a chore to get 100%. For example, the story of the first Watch Dogs game was alright, but all these side objective type deals, that was mostly pretty annoying. So all in all, the game was a lot shorter than what I ended up playing, because it was just a lot of repetitive things that you did over and over again, but they weren't really fun. It was just grinding to get your way to the 100% or to get question marks checked or whatever it may be. Woo! A bit fast here. So if you deduct that game time and really only put in the actual story content and not the copy-paste, let's drag the game out a little bit content, then you get entirely different numbers. But that really only works for the story games and these open world Ubisoft story games. It really works for them. What it doesn't really work for is, once again, a game like Killing Floor, because, well, obviously it has been worth it, but how do I quantify that under that slightly adjusted rule? Well, that's hard to do. What I thought you could do maybe is, how long does it take you to play every map on every difficulty? But I don't see how that quantifies fun or anything, so I don't really see that working out. So yeah, I really haven't found a proper way to judge that for a game like that, whether it has been worth it or not. But I think those are outliers. I don't think it happens very often that you pick up a game on sale for a $5. Police. And what's that? Please pull in for vehicles inspection. What is a wait station? Oh, there's it looks like a wait station. But yeah, I don't think it happens very often that you buy a game for a $5 and end up playing it for over 1k hours. So outliers like that really shouldn't be judged with these criterias that you set for the regular game that you play and buy. Just quickly. Okay. What was that all about? Oh well, I got an achievement, so all is well. So yeah, I don't see the point in judging those games by the same standards. I think for a regular game like that, you could really use those standards, because let's say you buy Killing Floor as a normal person that just wants to have some fun playing a shooter every now and then here and there, and you play it for 20 hours or so, and you're like, well, this is kind of getting repetitive, I'm kind of done playing. And then you put 20 hours into it, and I think full price of KF1 was like $20, so that really puts you into that area where it's hit or miss, worth it or not, and that makes it a lot more comparable. Obviously a game like this, American Truck Simulator, is hard to judge as well, like what's worth it? What does that mean? If you enjoy playing it, by all means buy it, and it's probably worth its price. But also here you could use the same measure. I think the entire game with DLC is probably nearing $100, but you can easily pump 100 hours into that game if that's your type of thing. So if it's not, if you just want to have a nice drive, when with the base game on sale for like a $5 again, 5 hours should be doable before it gets repetitive, I guess. But with those games, it's really about how much do you value a game that gets repetitive rather quickly in order to judge whether it's worth it for you. Because a game like this, or even First and Second Killing Floor, or whatever it is, those games are so repetitive. And if that's just not your type of thing, if you would rather have a story game with a progression, then that's just not for you, and then it's not worth it. But that's why I said, I mean, hours of fun and not just hours of playing time is what you should be using for the worth it formula. Because if playing this game is only fun for 5 hours to you, you can play it for 500, but it doesn't make it worth it. If you only had fun for 5 hours. Not that I understand why you would play it for 500 if you only had fun for 5, but, you know. Maybe you're crazy. Who knows, who knows. Alright. Next point on the agenda is, fun fact, achievements. And I hinted at it earlier, I did Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins on 100%. I've started doing Origins on 100% on Steam as well, but I don't know, I got kind of bored of the repetitiveness. So again, this is just, you do the same stuff over and over again just to complete it all, and yeah. I will probably do it eventually, but I got kind of bored, and sometimes I'm just not into grinding it out just to get another game added to the perfect list. I don't think it's worth it spending your time with things that you do not enjoy very much. So that being said, what I'm actually hinting at is doing achievement guides, because that has been an idea that really was prompted with Age of Empires 2. And in a way also with Spyro, because the thinking with Spyro was there is only limited usefulness, in my opinion, to doing a guide to the levels if you leave out the achievements for the levels. And that is a very similar thought that I had when playing Age of Empires 2, is you go through the campaigns and you want to show how to play the levels and give a good overview, but at the same time you obviously also have to think about, well, there are these side achievements for the missions. You should probably take them into account when you're doing a guide for a mission. And obviously not all achievements are best done on a hard difficulty. You know, if you can easily combine it, then by all means, but it's always, it's a tough balancing act. That has been something that I wanted to get at, and I'll probably mention that in the AoE series as well, is, do you think it's better to try to combine the achievement and the hard playthrough or walkthrough or whatever? Or do you think, well, the actual walkthrough on hard should focus on the easiest and best way of completing it on hard, while then putting out a separate video on the easiest and best way to get the achievement, because that's obviously not done on the hard difficulty. And I have kind of figured that if the achievement is easily doable on hard, then why not just pick it up along the way? Whereas if the achievement is of a difficulty where doing it on hard is probably not recommended, then let's just do a separate video for it and split the guides up. In a game like Spyro, that obviously isn't a problem because every level there has a side achievement, but there's no difficulty. The game is as hard as it is, and there are no difficulty settings, so you either do it or you don't do it. And if I want to give a complete overview of the level, then just doing the achievement along is, in my opinion, a given. And kind of the point of it all is show all the skill points, everything that is in the game, plus the achievements for it. Because what I want to portray is the entire game, and once we are finished, and if you do the same that I do, you should also have 100% of everything, including the achievements, and that's kind of the point. But I have noticed some people put way too much emphasis on the achievements. And I think it's good to have achievements because it adds a little more extra to the games. So I do enjoy that they are there. And it adds a few extra objectives, a few extra things to work towards, so that's pretty cool. But what I don't understand is why you need to pad those achievement stats by buying 20 games that give 1,000 achievements each within 5 minutes. Like, that's just unnecessary, let's be honest. And that's why, in my opinion, it always matters which games do you have perfect. So that should always be part of your consideration. And I think we have now covered everything I wanted to say. I want to talk about big games being worth it. I want to talk about achievement guides and why I do them in some games and the thought process behind it. So yeah, I think we are through for today. We will not quite finish this delivery. Maybe next time. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, farewell.